Good afternoon. This is our talk, TSSHOCK, Cracking MPC Wallets and Digital Custodians for Billions Profit. So our main author today is Hieu. He is, unfortunately, he cannot be here today with us. So you have me, and Khoa, and my very changed technical head, Giap, Nguyen. So let's start. So what is this talk about? So we're going to talk about private key extraction attacks in popular GG18, GG20 based threshold signature scheme implementations, a kind of MPC protocol. So there's a lot of vocabularies here, so let's learn them first, right? So MPC is multi-party computation. It allows you to jointly computation of some private inputs that is held by parties. And threshold signature scheme is actually an application of the MPC. It allows you to calculate a digital signature, but right now you don't have the private key anymore. You have private shares. And this is still very general. So GG18 and GG20, it introduces a TSS4 ECDSA, which is really common. And this protocol is actually very well known in the industry. It had multiple revisions, GG18, GG20. It has a lot of open source implementations, and it is being widely used in production. Remember production. Okay, so let's go through GG18 and GG20 protocols. So this is the kind of the overview of how everything builds on. We have the threshold ECDSA, which is how GG18 and GG20 is supposed to implement. And in that, we have the MTA subprotocol, and the MTA subprotocol is actually protected by range proof. And in that range proof, you have the DLN proof that will protect the range proof. So we go through all of these, and okay, so let's talk about signing ceremony. So there's a lot of things, but we will not be trying to understand them. We know that there's an MPC subprotocol in there. So MPC subprotocol is actually very complex, but the basic idea is that when Alice has a private input, that is A, Bob has a private input B, and then it will, after they communicate a lot of things, Alice will receive alpha and Bob will receive beta, such that A multiplied by B will be equal to alpha plus beta. And all of these inputs, A and B, are sensitive data. Only Alice knows what A is, and only Bob knows what B is. But to make this, we need a range proof, because a lot of complex math here, so it requires a range proof. So a range proof, during a key signature phase, Alice and Bob will generate a tuple of 3 values until they're H1, H2. And then they will broadcast that to the other party. And during the signing phase, the range proof will send something like Z equal H1 to the power of A multiplied to H2 to some random values. And both will get that values. And remember that A and B right here are the secret values that is being used in MTA. So this is 2 sides, right? We will talk about one side. So in one side, we take Alice, for example. Alice will receive Z equal H1 to the power of X multiplied to X2 to some row mod the N tilde. So X is the private value of the other party, and rho is the random nonce of the other party, because we don't want to leak X somehow, so we have a random nonce. And to make this work, X must not be revealed. And how do we make that happen? So there's a lot of implementations, I don't know, but in this particular, we can set H1 to be in the multiplicative subgroup generated by H2, which means that H1 equal H2 to the power of some random number. And so that because we put that in and we have Z will be H2 to the power of EX plus some random nonce, mod the N tilde. So if you look at that formula, X will not be revealed when rho is big enough, and usually it will. But to do this, Alice will have to say, we have to convince the other party that they know a proof of knowledge of that, okay, x1 is equal to h2 to the power of e, some random e. So this is actually a kind of proof of knowledge of log to the base of h2, h1 mod the n tilde. And to be able to provide this, Alice will have to use a DLN proof of the log. So how DLN proof works? So let's say we have a prover and a verifier. The prover will have the n tilde, the phi of n tilde, h1, h2, and he has the knowledge of the log base h2, h1. So at first, the prover will just generate a random value that is to the power of h2. Then the verifier will say, okay, let's choose c equals 0 or 1. So it's just 1 bit. And then the prover will take that bit and will send over row that random number plus c plus the log. And then the verifier will accept if that formula is true. So it's basically like the verifier will ask, okay, reveal me the log to a row, or just reveal the row. And the prover will not know. So to make this happen, like to be more correct, it has to like run 80 times at least, because it's just like if you can guess 1 or 2 times, so it's just 1, 2. But if we run multiple times, then the probability to guess correct every time is 1 to the 2 to the iteration. And all of this is interactive, and usually interactive is really hard to code. So we have the non-interactive version, which is apply the Piaget-Shamir heuristic with the challenge equal a hash of public values. In this case, you have the n tilde, h1, h2, and a list of alpha values. So this is what we will be targeting today. There's a lot of things, and this TSSHOCK attacks actually happens on the DLN proof. And because the DLN proof is attacked, so the range proof will be attacked, and then the MTA will be attacked, and then it will practice the whole thing. And then the threshold ECDSA is broken. So how is this possible? It's actually because there are some implementation flaws in this DLN proof. And because of these flaws, we are able to forge the proof. And if the proof is correct, then we can have any range proof correct, MTA correct, and then we can create any signature. So we found 3 attacks, and that is the alpha shuffle, the C split, and the C guess. All attacks can recover the private key. And for most of the implementations, you only need 1 malicious party member. And the protocol, when we do this attack, there will be no abort. And the fancy thing is a lot of Golang and Rust implementations that are famous is vulnerable. And this is really crazy, is that MPC is actually used in MPC wallets, asset custodian, and decentralized bridge. So we will go through each attack. So the first attack is alpha shuffle. Now the problem is because ambiguous encoding scheme. As you can see on this piece of code right here, is how they encode the data. And you see the data will have the values, and then we will append it with the delimiter. It's going to be something like this. And if you're a hacker, you see this and you know, oh, what about if that values, it has the delimiter? Then it could sometimes be like this, or like this. So we use this, and we think, so how, if we can just make the values to be like this, so we can have the same set of data, it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be like this. And we will shuffle the values around, and it will still have the same set of values right there. Okay, so this is the algorithm. So at first we will take a guess on how many bits of 0 and 1, and then we will prepare the alpha value for when the challenge is 1 or challenge is 0. And we have the algorithm here. It's just like really fancy. It is just like we will just take a dummy, we create a dummy value of the data, and we will apply the Fiat-Shamir. It will have the challenge set, and when we have the challenge set to be exactly that we have how many bits of 1 and 0s, we can rearrange that so that the challenge set C and the alpha are in the correct order, because it has to be in the correct order for every challenge and C. So it's kind of like this. A lot of things, but it's kind of like this. So let's say we have 4 rounds, and we don't know anything, but we will guess. So it could be that we have 2 bits of 0 and 2 bits of 1. We'll generate a dummy value of alpha for 0 and alpha for 1. We send it to the verifier to see how he will come up with a challenge. And we see that the challenge is 1001. So right now, we know what the C values are. So we will change, we'll swap around, we'll shuffle alpha so that it will be corresponding to the challenge bit. So as you can see that when we know what the challenge is, we can just send in another set that is being arranged correctly. And this all happens possible because the Fiat-Shamir is a hash, and it will not change the value, but the encoding is the same. So the challenge is the same. The challenge you receive is the same, even though that you're saying, okay, at first we have this alpha, but then we have this alpha, but they will be the same. So this is the basic of the alpha shuffle. The next one we talk about the C-split algorithm. So the C-split attack is actually because there are a lot of implementations that use a larger challenge space with no DLN proof iteration. So it's kind of like this. Remember the algorithm before? So now they say, okay, C cannot be 1 or 0. Let's take C to be some very big number, maybe 256 bits. And we just run one time. We don't need to loop anything because maybe the probability for a successful guess of C is 1 over 2 to the power of 256. Kind of makes sense, but it's not. So let's take a look why. So we take a look at the algorithm, the formula, tau equal to rho plus C multiplier by the log, and it is mod of phi n delta. So if this log is 1/2 and C is an even number, then you can calculate this, and then this proof exists. So similarly, we can say, okay, let this log be 1 over E, and if C divides by E, then tau exists and the proof exists. But the thing is, 1 over E is non-existent if the GCD of E and phi n delta is different than 1. It has no inverse. But because C multiplies to log, so this thing can be calculated even though that in this subgroup we don't have E inverse. And because of this, we say, okay, well, we can pick some random E values that is small, and we can brute force it. However, when we do this, we have some limitations. The first thing is E has to be really small, about 30 to 50 bits, because the computing power is not strong enough. The private inputs we extracted is in the modulus of E. And because E is small, so if we have one signature only, we cannot recover the secret values. But if we can collect more signatures, then we can use some kind of lattice attack to recover the full value. It is quite similar to non-leakage attack on ECDSA. Because the time limit, so I cannot really talk about how we covered the lattice attack. So I'm going to go to the next attack. The next attack is the C-guess. So the C-guess problem is kind of really easy. It's a reduction of DLN-proof iterations. So it's just like before, but like I said, it has to be repeated like 80 times. But now you may repeat just fewer times. So it's actually, if you can predict like what the C values are in each iteration, then you can actually craft the proof. So if you have very low numbers rounds, then you can just brute force it. And the probability for a successful guess is 1/2 iterations. And because we have the Fayad-Shamir heuristic applied, all of this is just free. Like we can test, and if it works, then we send the proof, and we can attack. If it's not, then we just abort. We just skip over. Let's have a recap. So in the recap, we have 3 attacks here: alpha shuffle, C-guess, and C-split. The corresponding bug is that it has, for alpha shuffle, it has an ambiguous encoding scheme. For C-guess, it is about the reduction of DLN-proof iterations. And for C-split, it used a larger challenge space with no DLN-proof iterations. And the core issues is probably for alpha shuffle, you have the same encoding for different integers lists. For C-guess, it can be easily guessed the challenge bits for a small number of iterations. And for C-split, it's actually because the developer optimized the scheme, but he doesn't prove the soundness error is negligible. So this is the exciting one. We have a list of affected vendors and libraries that we have prepared POC for, and they are proven to be attackable. Here we have a list. And the crazy thing of all is that, you see, we only need one, most of these, you see, we only need one malicious party. And most of these, we only need one signature. And that is really crazy because anybody can be into the party member, and then he just, after one signature, boom, he got the private key, he attacks everything. So the next part is the demo, and I will be giving to my colleagues.
Okay. So we try to POC 2 popular MPC grids. Why? Because actually anyone can run the MPC node to join the network. If you invest some money, they will let you run the node, malicious node in their network. Second, they have a lot of money, so maybe $100 million. So if we were the bad guy, actually we can get the money. So here, so here the demo for attack Trojan, very popular bridge. So in here we run 5 nodes with 1 malicious. So 4 honestly and 1 malicious. So initial, the wallet has some token in the wallet. So now we run attack server with listen the private key and automatically get all money from the Trojan. So we wait for the normal transaction into the network. Someone exchange in the network. It requires on the node to perform the TSS sign-in. So when they sign in, we can capture the private key, and boom, we can take our money. So now our wallet had our money from the Thor chain. And it's interesting, the attack very silent. Maybe they even don't know why it happened, because we got the private key and we submit the transaction by themselves. So we have earned the money. So we don't get the money by themselves, but we send the POC to the Thor chain, so they immediately shut down the whole network and until they finish. So next, we also the POC about red hole network, another popular MPC blockchain risk. So the first we run the Ethereum, the symbol Ethereum, and we deploy on the red hole network smart contract. So after that, we run one malicious node which run one party. So the KEEP network has the node can run any party. So we run one Hornet with 4 Hornet party. So now we try to create the wallet. So when they trigger the TS key generation, the malicious node will inject the malicious parameter into all Hornet party. So it's a set and it, okay, we on set. So now we wait for the signing, TSS signing process. So the network maybe make some transaction, like heartbeat. It requires the on node perform the signing. So when the signing happens, the malicious node now can capture the private key. Yeah, it also the private key for BTC wallet. So we can use the private key to take all money from the BTC wallet. So actually impact, and then we also inform them, and they already finished.
So we have some conclusions, some key takeaway. So these are very new cryptographic protocols, and creating them, implementing them is a very challenging process, and it could be really dangerous because nobody knows that if the implementation is safe or not. Optimizing them also is very challenging because you don't know how to effectively optimize the cryptographic protocols, right? Because it has to follow those steps to be secure, and it's really dangerous too. So don't optimize without any security proof. And if we have a new cryptographic protocols, you have to undergo a rigorous security evaluations before it can be used in production. And even though it could still have some bugs that it will happen because nobody knows, right? And MPC TSS is a pretty new and there has no standardizations of this particular scheme. So we are expecting that it could be in the future there will be new vulnerabilities that we don't know yet. But again, with cryptography, if you have something that's being used for a very long time, then you can say that it is relatively secure. So this is the end of our talk, and if you have any questions, then we will be happy to answer. There's another one thing is that we have a teaser page that is verychains.io/TSSHOCK. If you want more information, you can go there. We have a lot of information on how we find the bugs and what effects the library is affecting. And we also have a white paper, which is more for advanced readers out there.
So we also share on attack POC for the own library and network. So you guys can go to there and check it by yourself. So if you guys had a question, feel free to send email to us. So we're happy to explain anything about it. And thank you.